Hi, this is Joseph Arthur. Thanks for checking out Come to Where I'm From. Please support us on Patreon, patreon.com/come to where I'm from. We are an independent podcast, and any contributions you can make are greatly appreciated.
Come to Where I'm From podcast episode 94.
And how do you say your last name?
Mathlouthi.
Mathlouthi.
But I'm gonna go with the
Emel
ML from
Mathlouthi.
now on. But you could say either.
Emel from now on.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
trying.
Like Madonna.
Just a single word name.
Yeah, I'm ready to be just myself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love my dad's name, but
But what?
I don't know. I'm ready to be just me.
He was the intellectual?
Yeah.
Wow, how so?
Yeah, you have to ask him. I mean, he's coming from
He's not here.
No.
Ask him, Joe. Come on. Mr. Mathlouthi. What was his name?
You say it so well. Salah.
Salah. I'm Israeli.
Oh, that's why you have the good
Salah.
accent. Yeah.
Salah.
Yeah, good job.
So your dad's the intellectual.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you were raised by him and your mom, who's like into agriculture. Is that right?
No, my mom is a elementary school teacher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they were both. My dad was also a university teacher.
Oh, okay. What did he teach?
History.
History. Oh.
Yeah.
And as I was reading in that Vogue article that it said like you had to like be careful about talking smart or something like that, like
In the house.
in the house, or just because of the growing up in a dictatorship, that there was like this atmosphere of you couldn't express yourself, I guess, on some level.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you got involved in certain things, you would be in trouble.
Like what?
Well, anything that represents like a free, conversation.
Right.
Basically.
Thought police type of
Yeah,
stuff. Like
exactly.
George Orwell, 1984 type of thing.
Exactly. People were policing themselves and their friends.
And don't you see that happening here now? The atmosphere of people self-policing? Like that it's rising up here, like that energy? Do you sense that?
Yeah, I mean, I sense that a lot of people see a lot of hope in what happened in Tunisia here, which is funny to me because we've always looked up to America and the democracy and
Right.
so it's funny. Now it's really serious. Every time I release a song or something, I feel, I see all these friends, American friends, reacting so. It feels sad,
And explain that. What do you mean?
Well, people are very concerned, seriously concerned
About what?
about the future of this country.
Yeah. In what regard, though, are you speaking?
Well, politically, but then
The freedom of this place, you mean?
of the freedom of this place, everything that holds it together,
Right.
everything that held it together,
Yeah.
because everything is politic,
Yeah. Well, the thought police thing is happening. I mean, people are self-censoring. And, the cancel culture
Yeah.
is a real thing here.
Yeah.
So when I read that, I was thinking wow, I wonder if you sense that same atmosphere emerging again since you grew up in that atmosphere.
Yeah,
then,
I mean,
and then got free of that atmosphere, and then now you're living in New York, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's still New York is still a little bit different from anywhere else in the U.S.
Yeah.
But I mean, when I look at what everything is happening, yeah, it feels not that in Tunisia we made that much progress because we still have a lot of progress to make.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very concerning for the rest of the world because America has such an influence and has been so involved.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
That if we lose our freedom here,
What does that mean?
what does that mean for everyone else? That's
Exactly.
intense.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, we have a responsibility.
Yeah, and everyone that lives here, even as an immigrant, I feel now that I have, I used to really look out for Tunisia and the Arab world, But now I feel like I have a responsibility, and in a way it's inspiring in some ways. So I feel like I'm useful. I can be useful, in many different ways.
How so?
Well, to me, like being in New York was very freeing because I didn't necessarily want to keep carrying that responsibility of the political artist, of the, you have to speak up for this, you have to speak up for that. So I came here and I discovered this whole dimension of myself, like trusting myself as a producer, trusting myself as a musician, as an arranger, as a lyricist, as a composer. All these things were a little bit kind of hidden inside, and coming to New York made me really trust myself and push myself harder, and to just like be a musician and dig in my craziest musical experimentations. So I kind of like left that, flag that I had to carry to the side, not changing the topics that I'm interested in or my sensitivities about, certain aspects of life and society. But now I feel, okay, maybe I should use all of that now to speak up for this country.
Mm-hmm. And what would you say if you spoke up for this country?
That, freedom of expression does not mean it's not only about Tunisia and the Arab world right now. We need to free this country from the sort of like, it's kind of a dictatorship, that's going on.
Yeah.
A lot of decisions being made, for everybody, and lots of steps back in time, and a lot of hatred growing.
Well, lots of animosity.
Yeah.
I feel like that people are afraid to express themselves because of the cancel culture.
Yeah, and then the cancel culture. I see that happening, and I think that people have to express. I mean, but also like the history here, and what happened here is a completely different story than what's happening in Europe, for example, or what's happened in Tunisia. But I feel still people have to defend their ideas,
Yeah, and be brave enough to express their ideas in the beginning.
Yeah, be brave to express their ideas, and to also
even be brave enough to have ideas.
Yeah, well,
like
that's
Ehud won't even have ideas. Like Ehud's just like, I don't know anything.
Well, the similarities. what I was telling him, to me, the similarities between Tunisia and here, I guess, is if we go back to the Arab Spring and how sort of you got involved with that, where it started in Tunisia with like a viral video of a guy who set himself on fire, and then the sort of movement started, is the same almost as all the demonstrations and the stuff that's going on with the younger people in this country who are slowly starting. You sort of see this like uprising starting to come up from the ground up, related to social media and social awareness, and the young people are just fed up, and it's sort of very similar to that.
Yeah, actually,
obviously that was a full dictatorship and years of oppression, and I don't know what it was like growing up in Tunisia in the years you were there, but probably back there, if you spoke up, the consequences would be a lot different than just being canceled on social media.
Well, I'm seeing a lot of things that people are not just being canceled. Like
Dude,
I've seen
not just being canceled on social media.
I was giving a,
Dude, that's where it starts, and then they can't make a living. I mean,
Right.
It's like canceled on social media.
No, as a result of something.
I mean, that's
on
like
social,
that's
no,
way
as a result
that's understating it a lot,
of something
bro.
on social
Okay,
media.
like, come on.
No, but I've seen like
Come on,
protesters.
dude.
I've seen protesters. Like yesterday, I saw a video of protesters being beaten and arrested. I don't know. I didn't pay attention where they were protesting. And the protester who was in a wheelchair. I don't know if you've seen that video.
I saw
You know, so things are getting pretty wild. But I've seen in Floyd the same that we seen in Bouazizi.
Yeah.
You know, his death sparked such a huge outrage, and I mean, it is going to continue, and I believe that something has awakened and it's not going to go back. So, well, there's still democratic elections here, so there's that
There's
hope.
the illusion of democratic
see.
elections
We'll
here.
see. We'll see what happens.
It's like, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I mean,
it's true. It's an
look at the
illusion.
choices that we have
Exactly,
too. We
it's
have
an
we have
illusion.
on one side a guy who's got early onset Alzheimer's disease. That's pretty clear. And on the other side, you got somebody who is
Narcissistic.
and is just the country is divided beyond
A
belief.
lot of division, yes.
It makes me sad, truly,
Yeah.
that this country has so much, culturally. Growing up, I was looking forward, to be in America.
What years were you
listen,
in Tunisia?
the 2000s.
That's
Wait,
when you
so
left?
keep going with what you were
2000s.
saying though. You were looking forward to being.
Yeah, because, I was listening to all this amazing music, like Art Tatum and, Sidney Bechet and watching all the movies and, Tarantino. And
Right.
It was a lot of, culturally, I was...
Freedom.
Yeah, exceptional stuff. And then I got into John Baez and Bob Dylan, and that stuff really revolutionized my life and my entire existence.
Right.
And then to see what's happening now, I mean, I don't want to be sad, but I feel like maybe there's not that so much people speaking up anymore, like artistically, for example.
Well, it's also like there's this we're being oppressed, by the thought police, I think, and I think that sort of limits expression. It limits that freedom of expression or that feeling that you can risk or be an individual. I mean, but I think we can. It becomes our responsibility to express ourselves anyway.
Yeah, and I see there's a lot of will in trying to divide people,
Right.
And that creates a lot of confusion, and that's why I think it's very important for artists to unite.
It's like divide and conquer.
Yeah, we need to find ways to unite, and
How would you suppose we do? How do you suppose we do that?
Well, I always think I think art is always the answer. Because look at how many people consume so much music every day. Unfortunately, the people consume a lot of bad music every day, but music can, speak to people so fast.
That's true.
And not just music, art in general. So I think we should put everything in there. To me, that's no doubt. Art has always been the way.
You can express these ideas in a song, I guess.
Yeah, like, the last few days I released this new rendition of a song of mine that was important during the Arab Spring. The song is called Kelmti Horra, which means my word is free. And it was such an important song, from the year 2010 and, so on until I performed at the Nobel Peace Prize. So the song represented so much. And during the confinement, I decided to call a few different artists and do a confinement rendition. It was kind of like for fun at the beginning, but then as I was getting so much positive response from artists, I decided to grow it, and I ended up with over 50 artists from all over the world. And I have never collaborated with artists from I'm from North Africa, so there's that kind of like division between North Africa and the rest of Africa, which means whiter Africa and black Africa. So for the first time, I'm collaborating with artists from Mali, from Djibouti, and I think it's a shame because originally we were colonized. So the colonizer, divided us. So, and all of a sudden I saw the magic happen. I saw people, that have nothing to do with Arabic, singing in Arabic, people even translating the Arabic lyrics and singing their own take with their own language. It was just so positive and so inspiring. And I think those kind of initiatives can translate into so much more, inside people. It can give people hope and, give them an image that we are all in this together, and we are all the same, and we all want the same things, and we all get moved by the same things,
Yeah, but I don't think everybody does want the same thing, and I think that's the problem. I think that there's like a psychopathic initiative going on that is trying to demolish the human spirit, and I feel like there is definitely an initiative in that direction, and that we need to fight against that.
Well, definitely. But when I say everybody wants the same thing, that means everybody wants a decent life. Everybody wants, a good meal. And everybody is pleased by the sight of a beautiful beach. Everybody likes good music.
But some people are after the destruction of others.
Exactly. And that's where
that's the problem.
Yeah.
Most
Like
normal
I'm with
people.
all that first stuff you said. I'm down with that.
Yeah.
Like if it was just that, if only it could be just that easy. Like that everyone just agreed that that's what we want. Let's all just have that.
It's like that story I forgot, where people were living in a village and some guy outsmarted everybody and started it's a story with peanuts. I don't know if you know that story. It's like in the ancient times and everybody was living in peace together, and somebody just outsmarted everyone and started sneaking at night and trying to
Taking
make
all the
profit.
peanuts.
So maybe that's somehow in the human nature to try to but I think that's why we need laws and regulations that can protect minorities, that can protect the democracy and protect everybody's
And protect
rights.
children.
Absolutely.
Protect the children that I guess are like going missing at an alarming rate for God knows what reasons at this point that I think are starting to be uncovered, which is also incredibly frightening.
We're not protecting our children. I mean, I'm trying to protect my child, but there's only a certain amount of things I can do on a personal level because the children are going to go to school. They're going to be exposed, in the society.
Yeah.
But anyways, what I'm saying is that art has that power of delivering something that can at least, for let's say 4 minutes, or my video, for instance, is 8 minutes long. For 8 minutes long, someone is going to see all this diversity, all these people from different religions, from different cultures, from different backgrounds, from different countries, just getting together and singing together. And they're not even all singers, it was not about just delivering a masterpiece of music, and of people performing, virtuosity.
Where do people find that?
YouTube.
YouTube.
Yeah, it's on my YouTube channel. And the song's name is Kelmti Horra. My word is free.
My word is free.
Yeah.
And how does it go? Can you sing a little of it a cappella?
أنا أحرار ما يخافوش أنا أسرار ما يموتوش أنا صوت المرثخوش أنا وسط الفوضى معنا أنا حق المظلومين.
Wow. I could hear that. I could listen to you do that for hours. That's wonderful. Thank you. How did you discover the gift of singing?
I think I've always liked singing. I think singing is great.
It's like being connected to God singing, I think.
Absolutely. You're connected to something that's not on earth, definitely.
The spirit realm.
So since I was a kid, I liked singing children's songs.
Okay.
So I was obsessed. I used to learn all of them, all the books I could find, all the lyrics. And then eventually, as a teenager, I started really developing favorite artists and really wanting to learn the songs and work on my voice and try. I used to rehearse a lot with Celine Dion. She used to be my voice teacher.
Right. Did you know her personally? No, just remotely, right?
No, but I could. I almost know her personally because, well, she's such an open book. I love her. Like, she's so open about everything. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I used to watch her interviews, watch her shows, and just listening to her voice and her songs, you know. Mm-hmm. I could get transported.
Was there enough access when you were growing up to that kind of music in Tunisia?
Well, the access was definitely tricky. So it was basically the radio.
Local,
and then
or you were getting it from somewhere else?
Local, yeah. Local radio, and there was cassettes. And I don't know where I got, you know, I know it was hard for me to buy. You know, we didn't have a lot of money, and my parents certainly didn't give me money to buy CDs and, like, you know. So I think, I had a cassette of one of her first albums, and I used to, like, spend my summers listening over and over and over. I would be washing dishes and.
Was there any musician in your family or anybody in musical in your family, or did you just discover this music on your own?
Yeah, not really. I mean, my dad has an amazing vinyl collection. So since I was a child, like I was saying, I used to listen to, you know, very old jazz records and classical music records. So he used to wake us up every Sunday morning with the Spring from Vivaldi. So it was annoying back then, but I think somehow it stuck with me.
Sounds cute, actually, though. Like he would just, it would turn it up loud in the morning.
The alarm clock.
That's
amazing.
Yeah, it would be like, why?
He sounds like a pretty cool dude.
Yeah, he is. He definitely is. So, like, one time he visited, and my daughter is a fan of Dalida. I don't know if you know this singer.
Who?
Dalida. She's a French, Italian, Egyptian singer. I mean, she's Italian, and she lived in Egypt, and then she became a star in France and all over Europe. And my dad got so pissed off. He's like, what was I playing when you were a kid? I was playing Beethoven, Mozart. How dare you?
Let your kids listen to this garbage, right?
Well, I love Dalida, but to him, it was like,
blasphemy.
What? Pop? You know? So
he's got a little bit of pretension in him.
Yeah, a lot.
But
I'm very grateful because I think I don't know why I would have been like if I didn't grow up listening to these great tunes, you know?
Right.
So, and classical music stuck with me because ever since I started making albums, I always record strings, and I hear strings when I'm composing, so I already have like the string arrangement in my head.
Do you have a quartet you work with in the city?
I do, actually.
Can I get their phone numbers?
Absolutely. Yeah, they're the best.
Yeah, because I love strings too.
Yeah. I mean, strings are just a connection with the heavens.
Do you ever tune to 432 instead of 440? Do you know that?
No.
A440 is what you normally would tune to.
Oh yeah.
But instead you tune to A432.
Interesting.
You should look into that.
Okay.
That's really fascinating.
Yeah, I'm into these things.
It's apparently it's like more universally beautiful or something. I don't know how to explain it. It's more symmetrical.
The soundscapes are
it's
symmetrical.
Like it just creates this like more appealing vibration.
Wow.
Yeah, like 440 is a bit more angular.
Yeah.
A bit more square.
Yeah.
432 is more like whoo.
Wow, that definitely speaks to me.
Yeah, I've been tuning to that for a while now, and all my recent recordings are on 432.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah.
How long have you been in New York?
5 years.
5
years and a half.
What area, generally speaking?
Well, I lived in Harlem
cool.
for the most of it, and I just moved to the West Village.
Oh, nice. So you're at home right now.
Yeah, well, what's happening now makes me be even happier for deciding to move to the West Village.
Why? Because
This is just 3 minutes from my home.
Oh, what happened? Coming right
here.
Yeah,
coming here today. I was like, awesome. I knew I was right.
So why were you so late?
She came from upstate.
Well, because I came from upstate.
What were you
today,
doing up there?
Right? So we have a home.
Ah.
And actually, I recorded my not last record, the one before. No, this last record. I recorded my last record in a little town called Mount Tremper. I started actually going upstate for the last few years to record music and to compose and to search myself.
Yeah.
And I don't know, at some point it made sense. So we got this little place in the mountain, and I just need to be in the nature.
Yeah, when you initially went up there, would you just like rent a bed, like a sort of Airbnb type of situation, or what would you do?
Yeah, that's what I don't like the idea of like renting a studio, and it's more expensive anyways, you know.
I mean, to live.
To live?
Yeah, like when you would go up
when
there.
I was visiting, I would. We would rent, you know, sometimes for a weekend. Sometimes when I recorded my album, I rented a house for like 2 weeks, and it just makes me connect, you know, with my deeper self, and just be also vulnerable, you know, because we feel vulnerable with nature, in front of nature.
Why?
Because nature is so strong, and it's so when you're like sitting by a river, or sitting in front of the sea, or, you know, contemplating a mountain, it's, you just, you know, you wonder how anything bad can be happening, you know,
Right.
a few miles away or something.
Yeah.
You know, and I like that state because it makes you go back to being just very humble,
Yeah.
your very humble little self, and you have to search what's the most positive and most honest expression of yourself that you need to bring in your music. You know,
That's cool. I needed to do that. I was just producing a song for someone. He gave me a car. He just said, "Hey, I got this extra car. Do you want it?"
Did you take it?
I think I'm gonna take it.
Okay.
Because I
not
want to
bad.
start. I just want to start going upstate, like, because
it starts with having a car.
I need a bug out. Like,
It starts with having.
are you a little concerned with being in the city, like right now during these chaotic times, and with what the uprising that's occurring, but that will, I feel like, increase as you know, joblessness continues and all that stuff, like the violence that's erupting in the city? And does this concern you at all? And do you feel like escaping to upstate? I'm asking for a friend.
No, I don't feel like escaping. I love the city. I consider myself really part of the city. And by the way, I feel so alive right now.
Right.
I love the mountain, but I'm a city girl.
Yeah.
I've always lived in cities. So, and New York just speaks to me on so many levels. And
Yeah.
I spent a few weeks here, and I'm just not. I don't know. I feel home. So I spent actually most of the confinement in Tunisia.
Oh, really?
So maybe I don't know what I'm talking about.
Oh, you were just there?
No, you do know what you're talking about. I've been here the whole time. And as crazy as it is, yeah, and I do feel like I need to kind of like get away, I guess, to a degree, but I also have been feeling utterly alive and really kind of happy to be here. So it is,
Exactly.
it's weird.
Yeah,
So
it's
I know what
exactly
you
what
mean.
it's exactly what I felt. I just got back to the city now, and that's exactly how I feel. And yeah, I don't think I'm ever gonna abandon this place, but it's definitely a concern. Like, as a musician, am I gonna be able to perform again? When, you know?
Are you doing live streams? What's the deal?
Yeah, so I started doing live streams as early as mid-March. And that really meant a lot to me. I enjoyed it, actually. In some ways, I enjoyed it a little better than a real live performance, because you just, you don't even need to dress up entirely.
Right, just the
You
top
just
half.
Actually, what I'm seeing right now that I didn't see last time I was here, all these new terraces.
The street. It's beautiful. The restaurants who.
I'm gonna say
street
something
dining.
silly, but like New York needed a pandemic to just start being, like, an outdoor, because it's not very American tradition to have
No.
like all these terraces. So Paris, right?
Yeah.
And I'm
And
so
drinking
used to that.
outside.
Drinking outside
Yeah.
is a big one.
And
those
it's changed it.
I'm
Somebody
coming
else told
from
me
a
that.
culture that like
Yeah,
even like you just put a chair in front of your house and sit there and just look at people, passing by.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
So-
that aspect of what's going on.
So
yes.
it was always weird to me. Like I remember the first times we went to this barbecue place that has this huge, beautiful terrace and there's a river, but everybody was inside and it's dark. And I was even like a little shy. Can we please sit outside? And they said sure. And I'm like, why isn't everybody just sitting outside?
Because people are wild.
So that's a good aspect. I like to see, good aspects in every, tricky situation. And it's nice to see people outside and, feeling alive, and that's important.
Are you selling a new live stream or anything like that? Do you have anything booked like that, or are you just playing it by ear?
So it's funny because
I'm gonna pitch
I
one
have-
to her after this.
Great. Thank you. I have a lot of things that have been going on, but I have been so bad at publicizing them that well, initially because I was solo parenting for 2 months, and I was also, taking care of my dad and cooking, and I was the only one who was in charge of shopping and bleaching, everything. So I would like go out. I had a terrace, and I would go upstairs, and I would ask everybody to not bother me, but just like half an hour before the live stream, and I would be like in a crisis mode. And I kind of got used to that. But yeah, I have to get better at publicizing this new format. But
What was the crisis mode?
well, that, for example, I would decide last minute that
What
I'm
songs
actually
to play and all that. Like, what are those lyrics? Wait, what are that whole thing? I do that every single time I ever
wait,
do
where's the
anything.
cable? Where's the cable?
Where's my capo? Oh no!
Why isn't my pedal working?
Holy shit! I forgot to tune the guitar.
The funny thing is that I haven't played. I kind of gave up playing the guitar because my music became a little bit more electronic, and I have these awesome musicians, and I just want to sing on stage, right? I want to perform with my whole body. I don't want to. So I haven't played guitar on my own for a long time. And I found myself in my childhood home, and I didn't even have a guitar. So one of my fans lent me a classic guitar. Like
Classical.
I
nylon
literally
string.
didn't play a classic guitar since I was 18 years old. So I had to relearn, like my fingers were like, all,
Callous.
in
Callous.
pain. And,
fuck this.
tuning was tricky. So it was very humbling, to go back to the basics and to try to make a strength out of it and still like exist and be valid artistically. But so I recorded in that environment. At some point, I'm like, but these lives are awesome. Actually, I'm enjoying this so much. I'm enjoying these versions of my songs. I don't need so much stuff happening anymore. I'm liking this just acoustic stuff.
Back to basics.
Exactly.
I've been
So I
writing
recorded.
a whole new set like that.
Awesome.
Just my idea was to make this album with just like voice and guitar and no overdubs.
Nice. I did the overdubs. I recorded 2 acoustic albums,
Yeah.
as part of a double album called the Tunis Diaries.
Yeah.
One part day with all of my songs, but acoustic. A selection of my songs with acoustic, and the side night, which you have a lot of the frogs. I have, I think, a whole field next to my house where you had all the frogs symphony at night, and the birds at day. So I had all this happening while I was recording. The second side is night, and it's covers. And all these covers that meant so much to me growing up and becoming a musician. Like, I was revisiting Nirvana. I was revisiting System of a Down.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you started with
Rammstein.
heavy metal, right? You started
Yeah.
out heavy metal singer.
Yeah. At first I taught myself in the house with Celine Dion, Mariah Carey. And then as soon as I started university, I met other rockers like me, and we started this heavy metal band, and we would play very, very, very goth stuff, as well as, some a little bit poppy, rocky other stuff.
Right.
Would it have to be underground in Tunisia at that time, or there was no issue? Yeah, it was. So how did
totally
you do
underground. So I was lucky enough that on the first day of college, somehow I went to this engineering school. But all I did, the good thing is because it was engineering school, they had money, so they had one music club with instruments. So they had an electric guitar, they had drums. It was actually the Oriental Music Club, and we took it over. And basically, we never went to class, and we launched our band, and our band name was Idiom. We were trying to be clever.
EDM?
IDIOM.
Oh, idiom.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I was trying to be clever, and meaning that it was like our own expression, kind of thing.
I should look up the definition.
Yeah,
of the word.
yeah. I was looking in a.
Me and Joe are like, what is that?
Yeah.
What's the word mean? Idiom.
Idiot.
It's something that's proper to a language. Like there are expressions in English that you can't exactly translate in French, and vice versa. You have a lot of like things in certain languages that are hard to translate into a different language. And so that was our music.
It's above our pay grade over here. Sorry, hold on.
Did you look it up?
I have an internet issue.
Oh my god! Let me ask you this though: in the case of growing up in a dictatorship like that, and if you're like kind of like making music or expressing yourself in secret to a degree, what happens to people that get found out?
Well, the thing is, why revolution was successful, at least, we got rid of the dictator, is that they were idiots,
The dictators are idiots.
They're always idiots.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
They're just jealous of people having fun.
Exactly. So they don't understand. There's a lot of things that they don't understand,
They have no sense of humor, for instance.
Exactly.
None.
So
they don't know when you're kidding or not.
Exactly. And they don't know exactly what you're doing, and they don't know exactly what you mean.
And they don't know why you're doing it. They just don't want you to do it because there's nothing they can do.
Exactly.
It really comes down to that.
Idiom, an expression whose meaning cannot be inferred from the meaning of the words that make it up.
I can't even. That was just my brain is like.
Isn't that an awesome name?
Yeah,
it is a good name.
Clever.
What does that mean again?
An expression whose meaning cannot be inferred from the meaning of the words that make it up. Meaning, whatever words make up that word, it doesn't mean what those words means. It means something completely different. Did I get that sort of correct?
I still don't know what it means.
Well, an idiomatic word or an idiomatic expression is really related to one language. Like, I don't know what we could say in English that is hard. You can't translate it into another language. It's really proper to English.
Like maybe slang or something that just has a meaning and it only means that in English and there's no other word for it in another language.
Well, for example, I'm always trying to say par contre in French, because like I'm also partly French. And I can't find a translation for that. I was trying to say it earlier, but I'm like, I need to translate this. Meaning that at the opposite of, but not exactly, But like if you're saying something and then you want to say something completely different, basically. So par contre is an idiom, Voilà.
Back to the dictators being stupid.
Okay.
Yeah, back to dictators being stupid. So they wouldn't punish you or what?
Well, the punishment was that, I was never able to be really public. Like I couldn't.
You couldn't perform.
I couldn't perform, like I could perform, but in a certain circle. So I didn't have access to festivals. I didn't have access to, I could go like once in a while to a radio show, but they would specifically ask me what to do and what to not do. All right.
So it was very right. At festivals, you could only
Controlled.
play certain songs, or how would that work?
You couldn't be programmed in festivals. There were tiny underground stuff happening where you could perform, or theaters, small theaters. But you can't just like have a career, whatever that meant back in the days. So basically people never knew about me. Like you would say when somebody we're a small country, when there's like somebody who has a lot of talent, you would say they could do a little bit of a path in their home country first. But that wasn't possible for me. I couldn't get anywhere. And then eventually Facebook started happening,
Is that how you got successful? How did success come to you?
I think that's how eventually I ended up moving to France because I really couldn't do anything anymore.
In Paris? Did you
Yeah.
move to Paris?
Yeah. And in Paris, I discovered that I had a fan page. I had a Facebook fan page. And that was a revelation for me. I'm like, oh my God, I'm actually someone.
Yeah.
I mean something to some people.
Right.
And back in the days, I think it had like, 1,000 likes. I'm like, who
Right.
are these people?
Right.
Right?
God bless France, man. They gave me my first love too.
Yeah. Yeah.
France.
Was it easy to move? Did you need any special permission to leave Tunisia, or you just left?
Well, you needed the visa. And so basically what happened is that I found this program, and bless France for that, again. They had this program for African artists. And you would get a grant and a place to stay for 6 months. So I was selected. And then I was doing like a restaurant gig back in the days. So I saved a little bit of money. So I remember like I went to my account, I withdrew, I changed it to euros. I had like 1,500 euros, and I got my visa and I moved. And that was it. And then I had to figure out the rest of my life.
You moved on your own?
I moved on my own, and
Did you know anybody in France, or did you just
not really.
complete? Yeah.
I knew I had a studio for 6 months.
How old were you?
I was 25.
Oh, okay.
And I was
Bold.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, now thinking about it, yeah, because I didn't have a plan B. I never had. I did some, years at college, but I never intended to work as a graphic designer. I mean, I love graphic design, but to me there was no other option. There has never been a plan B, and never will, I guess. And I think my parents thought that I was going to do a master for some reason, because they expected that for a long time until they eventually gave up. And then, I tried to find ways to extend my visas and to extend from 6 months. I was staying in this foundation where there were artists from all over the world, and I was able to convince some organization to extend my stay, and then I extended to I think the maximum 2 years. So that was pretty cool. And then then eventually I spread my wings and I started making a decent living. At least I was able to survive on my own, and I started saving a little bit of money, and then eventually I signed my first record deal and I released my first album.
How'd you get the record deal?
Well, it took some time. It took like 5 years.
Yeah, and who was it with?
It was with a label that doesn't exist anymore, Harmonia Mundi, and they had like a sub-label called World Village, because Harmonia Mundi is a historic classical record label for classical music, and so they started like these brands, and now they were bought by Pias. So they saw me perform. I had my first agent. I think he saw a clip of that same performance.
The Nobel.
No, it was another one in this awesome festival called Les Sud at Arles in the south of France in this ancient Roman amphitheater. Very beautiful. It was extremely windy that night, so it was really dramatic. It was really like scenic. So yeah, I signed with my first agent and the label after that performance.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the performance really kind of like, it was your live performances that kind of got you the success.
Yeah.
But you went from Tunisia not being able to perform, maybe writing your own songs, moving to France and performing for the first time in France?
Well, no, she performed, but she did it more
I did
underground.
a few, yeah, exactly. I did a few performances in Tunisia, like in some small theaters. But I think I was born to perform because I think the stage is something where I really feel complete.
Yeah.
Since I was I was 6 years old, and the teacher would call me in the front of the class because I used to learn all the children's songs, so she would call me to help the other kids, and I didn't have a stage fright. Like my daughter, I know that my daughter, she never wants to get attention like that. She's very shy. She doesn't want anybody to tell her happy birthday. She doesn't want to be in front of a crowd.
That's funny.
And then the teacher started calling me to other classes, which is like for a 6-year-old can be frightening to go to somebody else's class and be in front of the kids and sing. And I just did it.
You loved it.
Yeah.
Some of us are made that way. Do you have any siblings?
I have 3 siblings.
What are they?
I have a younger sister who lives in San Francisco. I have an older brother who lives in San Francisco too. And I have an older sister who lives in Paris.
So everyone left Tunisia eventually.
Yeah. We're spread.
Are your folks still alive?
Yeah.
What do they do? What do your siblings do?
So my brother works at Google. My younger sister works with a feminist NGO. And my older sister is a lawyer.
Oh, okay. So you're the only artist.
Yeah, definitely. And the whole family spread from both sides. No artist ever been found.
Wow.
So it was a crisis for my parents.
You being an artist.
Especially for my mom. I think my dad kind of went along with my mom trying to tell me not to. But eventually, he just went along with whatever I decided for my life. But I think for my mom, it was really difficult.
Why is that?
Because it was inconceivable that one of her daughters could be a singer,
Right.
Not anything. A singer, you're going to be on stage.
Why was that so inconceivable?
Because it means, especially in the Arab world, it means bad, like a singer is not a good life for a woman, But it's funny because now she's such a groupie. Like she'd go with me anywhere. She'd watch. I could perform 7 concerts straight, and she'd watch any one of them with the same attention.
How do you explain that?
I think at first, like, she had a lot of this energy because she was so conservative and she was so worried from what people can say or might say and the family and all of that. And then with the success that came, especially like when the song became such an anthem and it became viral, and then the Nobel Peace Prize, she was just like so proud.
Right.
Because also people look at me not only as a singer, because there's so many dimensions to what I do, and a lot of people have, especially in Tunisia, have such a respect for me and for what I did and what I'm doing.
Because you speak for freedom?
Yeah.
What was it about that song that you felt like, that made just that people, why did it attach itself to the Arab Spring in Tunisia back then?
Well, simply because the lyrics were describing exactly what will happen, but like 4 years before the facts. Well, people didn't know that because obviously people discovered the song. I mean, most of the people, it became really viral after the revolution. So it just speaks about, the red rose that, goes out in fire trying to call for the free, to save her. And that's exactly what happened.
What are the lyrics?
I am the free who are not scared. I am the secrets that never die. I am the voice of who did not give in. I am the sense amid the chaos. I am the right of the oppressed that's being taken by these dogs that are stealing the bread of the house and betraying our rights, basically.
Did you write that?
No, a young Tunisian poet wrote the lyrics.
It's incredible. I love that. What's the first line?
I am the free who are not scared.
I am the free who are not scared.
I am the secrets that never die.
And was it a song that you covered, or was it a poet that you collaborated with?
We collaborated together. Back then, it was my early composing days. I was just starting to write my own songs, and we met at this great festival. It's an amateur film festival, and all the young artists used to go with their guitars, with everything, and we would sleep at 6 a.m. And, spend the night
bohemian.
singing, by the beach. And he gave me this little piece of paper folded, and he said, whatever you want to make of it,
And it was those lyrics.
And I read it and I'm like, this speaks to me. I can do something. But for a long time, I couldn't really find music. And for a long time, I had the song I was working on, and I was trying to stick a third part of it because I was to be very progressive back then. I used to write these 4 or 5 part songs.
Right. It couldn't be simple.
And exactly. And at some point, I'm like, this part doesn't work.
Right.
It's like in a completely different atmosphere. And then I tried both together. The lyrics that didn't have a music and the music that exactly didn't fit, and it just fit perfectly. I think I had never something happen that way.
Right.
Like I didn't even had to redo anything or retouch or, tweak, or it was chorus, verse, bridge, chorus.
Yeah, you described it like Jim Carrey's mask in an interview.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. Did I?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
It was meant to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe that's the magic of songs. Sometimes the magic is there. Because they were asking me today in a Tunisian radio interview, and they were like, so, one would say 10 years or so after you released the song and the song was already a success, and now it's another success. This is so rare. Why is that? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, this song, it's also magical for me. And I've had this crazy love-hate relationship with it, even because I remember I blew up an interview at NPR, All Things Considered, once because I was just so fed up from being associated with it.
What happened? You had a temper tantrum?
No, not even that. I was actually, it was a crazy timing because it was the night before my biggest performance ever. I still have this difficulty in performing in Tunisia. Like you would say, I could do this and perform as much as I want and do crazy tours. I've never done any tours. It's still a crazy dream for me to do a tour. I've never toured in Tunisia. I've had single performances.
Right.
Tunisia. Yeah, I've toured everywhere else. I even performed in New Zealand.
You want to tour Tunisia?
I would love to. It's my wildest dream, and somehow it still never happened. And so that year, I was scheduled to perform in Carthage Festival on the Auditorium of Carthage, which is also a Roman antique theater. Mm-hmm. And this is the most prestigious, the biggest, almost African festival, music festival. You'd have big stars from the whole Arab region and beyond. So, and actually they canceled me. They confirmed with me and then they canceled me.
Why?
I don't know. And then I called them out on Facebook, and I had so much support that even like French media started talking about it. So they wrote me back and they said, no, we have nothing against you. Please, let's perform. Let's have you perform. So then they put me back on the schedule. Anyways, it was such a crazy performance. Like to me, it was like almost the impossible concert. So it was the night before, and I had this interview with NPR, All Things Considered, which is like, one of the most interviews you could have.
Right.
After this one.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as big as this, but it's big.
Well, it's nothing as interesting as this, I have to say.
Thank you. You're sweet.
No, I mean
I hope we're not driving you crazy because we're like all over the place. But.
Well, it's more interesting because that way I get to like express so many different things that I'm not necessarily, asked about. So anyways, long story short, for this interview, they do a prep interview before, which is great. And based on the prep interview, I was really feeling good about it. And that's why I said, okay, I will do it the night before this crazy performance, which is like 25 people on stage, a theater big as 12,000, seats.
It's an arena here.
So my voice was like 50%. I was not speaking anymore to anyone. And then I started the interview.
Your voice?
I was saving my voice, and I was overtired. I was producing the whole thing. I was in charge of the whole camera filming crew also, because I was trying to do a movie about it. Anyways.
Oh, you were making a documentary.
Yeah. It was important because it's wild to perform in Tunisia. Right. So, and they started asking me what it was like to be singing in Tunis in 2011 in the street. What did it feel? And I'm like, I don't remember. It was like 7 years ago. And it was just, one question after the other like that.
I'm glad I didn't ask that question.
So wait, keep going.
So, and it was one question after the other like that. And I'm like, what does the song say? And I wish like they would have warmed up with other things before. Anyway, I wasn't ready for that. And I was
like one question annoyed you and then it kept annoying you?
And I'm not easily annoyable. I like interviews. I like talking to people.
Yeah.
It actually helps me construct my thoughts. And
you enjoy the process.
Yeah, I enjoy it. Can be enjoyed.
Yeah.
It can be. It can be. But I can work it through tough ones.
Right.
Or uninteresting ones.
Yeah.
And I just didn't play along, so they just canceled it. They didn't air it.
Yeah, you were being a difficult artist.
I don't know. I was just being honest.
Right.
I didn't have it in me. And I can't. I don't have prepped answers. I never did. I just compose, and you have to be inspired. It's an inspiration exercise.
It is.
If you're in a party and you're not inspired by the people, you're not going to talk to them.
Yeah.
You're going to be annoyed by everybody talking to you, and you're just going to leave.
But it is showbiz. You just gotta dig a little deeper and bring out that personality. Especially when it's NPR. But I mean, I respect the vibe of like I've been there before too. Believe me.
Did you ever blow up an interview?
Yeah. No, it's happened to me. I know exactly what she's talking about, but. But I've also just like, and I'm sure you have too. Also, it just depends. You said you were tired, 50% vocal. You're dealing with a film crew. You're dealing with a lot, and it was just too much heavy lifting. Because I'm sure you've been in situations like that before, where you've like pulled through, even though it was super annoying.
Oh, absolutely! It was actually the first time. I can be a good student, know. I was a good student.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
All the time.
Me too.
So I know how to like what the in your head and then say something else.
Right.
But yeah, it had to be that one. I don't know. It wasn't meant to be. So just to say that now, if they're gonna see the video that I just put out and me talking about the song again, they're gonna be like, now you're talking about it, So yeah, maybe they will schedule another one.
Hey, there's no business like show business. Where'd you get that bag?
Well,
bag, the necklace, the shoes, everything's fabulous.
oh, thank you. Well,
Did you
the
see
bag.
her shoes? They
Yeah, but I'm asking about the bag right now,
but I've been
Poppy.
staring at the shoes.
Give it a rest for a second. Let me talk.
Well, thank you guys. I like fashion, so I like having compliments.
Where'd you get the bag?
I got it at well, actually, I have a friend who has a glasses store in Soho that has been looted. And actually, she's doing a fundraising right now, Selima Optique. And she organizes, like she invites designers and they do their own sales.
Show
so this
the
is
bag.
a unique,
Show the bag. The bag is nice.
This is a unique piece.
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Thank you. Thank you for noticing.
Yeah.
The necklace is, it's funny, but it's from Upstate.
Right.
You know, you would say that this is from,
Tunisia.
Middle East
Yeah.
or,
It
yeah.
looks influential. by
Yeah,
Middle
somebody
Eastern.
brought it from somewhere and it was incredibly cheap at a yard sale.
What about your tattoos?
So this one, it's an eye.
On your hand.
Yeah, it was my first tattoo. It was when I first moved to Paris and I needed a protection that could always be with me. You know,
Right.
like the evil eye.
Yeah,
So it was
Khamsa.
my eye against the evil eye.
Right.
And the birds were, when I first came to New York, I didn't move yet, but it was my first trip and I was so pissed off with everything. I was going through a bad breakup, bad everything. And I'm like, I need hope. And I saw this picture with these 3 little birds saying, never lose hope. And so it's the bird of the past, the present, and the future. You know.
That sounds like a good idea for a song.
Thank you. I'm actually, so I'm kind of connecting with that, with the 2 records that I recorded that will be out in sometimes in September or October, actually, the Tunis Diaries. And I just loved recording with the birds. We were just recording together the whole time.
Yeah, we kind of brushed over that. There were the birds and the frogs. That was interesting.
Yes.
So what's this called? The Tunis Diaries?
Yeah.
And it's a double album.
Yeah, it's a double. I decided to put it out like that as a double album. It's a live album, but I did overdubs because I love overdubs.
I do too, but that's why I'm trying not to do them.
Exactly. You know, in the Arab tradition, there's no overdubs.
Right.
You know, it's only the solo, powerful
Yeah.
singer, and, and you have these 20 minutes tracks. I don't know if you've ever listened to, any of the big stars from the 50s and the 60s. And I respect that because I try to do that on some of the tracks.
Well, in a recording, if you just leave a vocal and just a guitar, then that vocal and that guitar are huge.
Exactly.
The overdubs, the more overdubs you put on, the smaller and smaller everything gets. So it's like it's interesting that way. Like it's just to play. I'm enjoying playing with that sort of those dynamics of seeing how much space I can, or how much I can do dynamically with just the voice and the guitar.
Yeah, because you can always do overdubs, and it kind of like you can cover things up and you can try to fill holes.
Right.
But I think the music should function perfectly with no overdubs. And I love the format, just, the classic, not even acoustic, the classic guitar, the sound of the acoustic guitar. I was listening to the first mixes today, and I'm super impressed because it's not like, the guy just lent me one of his extra guitars, so it's not even a particularly good guitar, and I'm not a particularly good player.
So this is just live things you did since the quarantine, basically.
Yeah, I basically took example on the lives I was doing back then, and I'm like, I've never recorded anything like this. I've never shared. There is none. There's no recordings of me acoustically. I've done it in some shows, so I'm like, I have to put this out at least for the people who like my music.
Right. So it's just acoustic and vocal, and then you did do overdubs.
Yeah, and
what were the overdubs?
Well, for example, I was recording, I don't know if you know this track, New Year's Prayer from Jeff Buckley. It's like one of my most favorite tracks of all time. And I find that it's kind of like an Arabizing track. And it's funny because the prayer started as I was recording. So I kind of caught some of the prayer as I was recording New Year's prayer. And I just loved the connection of this track. To me, it's a little bit Spanish. It's a little bit like Andalusian. It's a little bit Arabic. And I like those mixes. So to me, I had to put like some voices out there. You know, a few different voices, layers of voices. And I just did that whenever I felt it because, you know, it is a live album and I insisted on just having, so it is only one track, guitar and voice. I didn't record separately. Because it just takes out the magic. You know?
When you do overdubs, you're just talking about a few background vocals?
Yeah.
Nothing, not strings, nothing like this? Or?
No.
Oh, okay. So it's still pretty stripped down.
Yeah, it's very stripped down and it's very bold because I'm not a very good guitar player. And you could hear some of my, you know, hiccups.
Flubs, yeah,
Guitar.
flubs.
Yeah. And I think it's okay. And even sometimes I would have like a false start, but because there's the guitar on the track, we can't do anything about it. And I think it's fine because nowadays music is so bleached. Everything is so perfectly tuned. You could even hear the auto-tuned that's trying to cover, you know. So I think we need a little bit of imperfection. That's what I've always been trying to do in my music.
There's power and vulnerability.
Yeah. I mean, I hope that people are going to like it. But, yeah, I thought, you know, why not? And things don't have to be polished all the time. And especially in this period that we're going through and that, you know, all the ancient models are fallen apart, you know. There's no absolute power meaning, you know.
I agree.
Like you see how much, like at the same time that things are going wrong here, there's a lot of people that are speaking up. And there are a lot of initiatives, a lot of civil initiatives that are organizing themselves and winning. And, you know, this thing has been so scary, like, wow, this pandemic and we all to have to stay home and we can't travel and we can't perform. So I think we need to bring things back to the basics.
Right. That's what I'm feeling too. That's why I'm doing this similar thing. But I was talking to my manager about it today because I was like, listen, we could release it as an acoustic album and that could just be phase one. Like, because then it could be we could do performances that are full band and release it again like that. But maybe we should edit this part out of the podcast so I don't give away all my secrets. Nah, it doesn't matter. I'm just kidding. But
No, it's not, you're not giving away too much.
Yeah, no.
It's actually intriguing.
Fun, though. Yeah, it's fun. And next time you get that acoustic guitar, tune it to 432 and see what
I have to try
happens.
that.
It's just a slight difference, but I think you'll hear it.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever listened to Jose Gonzalez.
Yeah.
I just love his guitar playing because, maybe that's why he, you know, all of a sudden he came out. Because, he tunes his guitar. I don't know if it's the 432, but I just always loved exploring different tunings.
Different tunings, yeah. That's different than the 432 thing. But, I love alternate tunings as well.
Yeah.
Who are your favorite? Like, what was the thing about Joan Baez? Because that was like that was kind of like, when I was reading up on you, that was like, I equated it from when I discovered like Bob Dylan. I was like, I want to do that. You know, you had that similar thing with Joan Baez, I feel like.
Yeah, totally.
What was it about her? And you liked the simplicity of what she was doing too, just the voice and the acoustic.
Yeah, I was like, if I can do just that, you know, go out there with my guitar and my emotions and just move people, that'll be awesome, you know. And her voice is so powerful and so touching. And
what do you think it is about you that is motivated to move people with your voice and your emotions?
Well, I think we're all trying to find a space for ourselves. We're all trying to find a use. I think it's very important for every one of us to feel that they're useful. And maybe people find that in religion or something.
purpose.
Yeah, purpose. Yeah, better than use. But I
Purpose,
also needed the use thing. You know, I need to be useful. I need to be doing something.
Yeah, of course.
So those artists spoke to me because I saw the change, the real change that they were making. You know, so and my region was so messed up.
Right.
You know, starting from my own country, that there was so much work to be done, and especially art-wise, because nobody was speaking up. We don't have a protest art to start with. So I'm like, if I can do, you know, a tenth of this around me, then I would have accomplished something.
Yeah. And do you think that you've done that?
I think so, yeah. I mean, there's always like, you know, a step further and a step back. But when I see, it's not to be much like of a, like happy of my own self and satisfied.
Self-satisfied.
Yeah, self-satisfied.
Look at you over there all self-satisfied. I'm just kidding.
But, of course, there are a lot of things that I'm self-satisfied about, but there's also a lot of things that I'm beating myself up. So I think it's nice at some point to step back a little and to be satisfied for a minute.
Exactly. I'm always beating myself up. It's like I can't win inside this 3-pound universe. I'm telling you. No matter what I do, there's a guy inside going, "You didn't do enough."
Exactly.
You're still not doing enough, bro.
Yeah, like the video I was telling you about, the new rendition of Kelmti Horra, the quarantine version. Just today, I woke up and I watched, and I'm like, I need to change 5 or 6 things in it.
Right.
And I was feeling so bad.
Right. Beating yourself up.
And then as I was naming them to my husband and explaining to him why exactly that needed to happen, I realized that, you know, there's always going to be something, actually.
Well, exactly. Exactly. It's like it's getting a lot of making stuff, making art, making anything is about just getting on with it and not worrying about it being too perfect.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's always a side that you know, we can't win. There's always a part that, you know, can't be, you know, it can't be a 100% victory or 100% perfect.
Right.
So yeah, when I see like young artists reaching out to me and you know, being trusting themselves and going out there and trying and singing multiple languages and you know, being that eclectic, I'm like, okay, so I think, you know, the way that I'm paving, that maybe I won't get to where I need to get, but at least maybe the you know, the little digging that I did would serve a little bit for other people.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What language do you prefer to sing in?
Right now, English.
Yeah, why is that?
I don't know. Well, I started singing in English in the beginning. Like I was saying, I didn't grow up in a traditional household.
Right.
I didn't listen. Maybe usually people in Tunisia listen to like the classic Arab tunes, and so I didn't grow up in any of that. So I don't necessarily consider myself like a 100% Tunisian.
I feel you.
Yeah, like now I feel that there's this pressure on me to represent that culture or those expectations from me that I never had. So when I started singing, so it's my mother singing language, English. So it doesn't feel that strange to me. But at some point I developed this character and this persona and this artistic direction in the way I'm singing and the way I am as a singer. And I wasn't convinced that that was it in English. So I kept on singing in Arabic, and I was feeling it. I was inspired. I was writing these lyrics. I had stories to tell. I had emotions I wanted to convey in Arabic. And then on the day I sang New Year's Prayer, it was actually an improv. We were about to get on stage with my musicians, and we always have the same first track. because I always need this one thing to hold on to warm up with and
Right.
to
Security
feel.
blanket.
Yeah, exactly.
The intro.
And then and then that day I'm like, I'm sick of this track. Can we just go out there and just do anything, improvise anything? I don't care. And they were brave enough to just, and good enough to try. So they started playing, and I started improvising with them, but using New Year's prayer lyrics and some verses. And we created such an awesome track that became a completely different one that I was in love with. And I just, every time I sing it, I feel this is me. This is me in the world and artistically now. And that me is maybe is in English, but it's not only because I'm singing in English. There's something. So I wrote my last album, Everywhere We Looked Was Burning, and it's 90% in English.
It's called Everywhere We Looked
Was Burning.
Was Burning.
Yeah.
Where'd you get that title?
So I was inspired by John Ashbery. And
The poet.
the poet, and T.S. Eliot, and Rilke, the German poet.
I know Rilke. I don't know how to say it as good as you did. But
It's
letters to a young poet.
Yeah, Rilke. I say so. There's still
His
words.
thing about marriage is great. To protect one another's solitude.
He's just awesome in every way. I just was surrounded with these three guys, and they were all at the same time. They had like this powerful way of using words, and I could see like images all the way through.
The imagery.
Yeah. So and all of a sudden, this album turned out to be a big tribute to nature and to environment and to all the crises that are happening in the world because of, destruction of nature and the ecosystem, etc. And that's hence Everywhere We Looked Was Burning. But then
You were sampling nature too in there, right?
yeah, nature became like a completely first character in every song, and a changing character. Like it would go from the victim to the villain that's trying to go after us for revenge. There's this song that I really, really love performing, Meruh, which means from the soul. And to me, like I was seeing the exodus of the Syrian people, the exodus of millions of people fleeing the basically what I believe is the consequences of the real plague, which is capitalism. So and then but also at the same time, maybe nature is the villain that's trying, like the goddess Kali, to just burn everything to the ground so that we can start over. And then the main track from the album that's also named Everywhere We Looked Was Burning. And actually there's a very beautiful video that Sami Batik, a great videographer that I work with for many years now, did. And you could see also it's a tribute to all the population suffering in the world, from Iraq to Syria to you could even see images from the protests in the US, the recent protests. A very, very powerful video that's on my YouTube right now. And I just felt that it was time for me to write an album in English, and I wanted to write it. I didn't want to just sing somebody else's lyrics. It was like a whole...
You wrote it. What are the lyrics to Everywhere I Look Is Burning?
I'm going to sing it because
okay,
somehow when I speak it...
Please do.
No one remembers the lonely edges of a time lost in decay. We looked back, but there was no remaining, and I couldn't stop them from drowning. The hours are getting late.
Beautiful. You should make an a cappella album. You ever think about that?
I did think about it. I actually started recording stuff when I was in Tunisia. I actually recorded one track with just vocals.
Right.
One of the tracks of this album, I re-recorded it in like kind of like in a churchy way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I actually love singing at churches when there's no one. It's just like I love that. It's
The
so
reverb.
Yeah, it's so spiritual. You know, even though like I'm an atheist.
Are you really?
Yeah.
You don't believe in God?
Nice. High five.
You're an atheist?
I don't know.
You're going with
I-
atheist?
Yeah, whatever.
Straight atheist.
Yeah.
High-fiving the fact that there's no God.
You know me. I don't believe in like.
Yeah, I don't care about words, but since I remember I was 15 and I just started thinking about it, and I'm like, I don't know, I don't have that connection.
I definitely do, but and also I just don't think it's reasonable to think something can come from nothing.
Yeah, then it's like so hard
But
to trace it.
atheism is like I can understand being agnostic or just not
Oh,
knowing.
that's what I went maybe.
But atheist means hard denial. That there is no God for
No,
sure.
I
It's like
just don't believe in
it's
it.
having tons of faith that there is no God, and that seems also like just extreme, I guess. Like how do you explain the mystery of life and creation and everything? You know what I mean? Like
Then it gets scary, you know. I think when I try to find the origin or reason,
right.
but at the same time, it's the contrast is that I'm a very mystical person.
Yeah, you seem
Like,
mystical.
I
I mean,
So maybe
that's
I'm
what
just-
I think that's what surprised me when you said atheist. Like, I agnostic, I could get like.
So what
just
is agnostic again?
means you just don't know.
You just don't
Just
know.
don't know. You're not like hardcore. Like there is atheist is like I know there's no God, like there's no creator. We just happen to be here from nothingness, I guess. Or a big bang or whatever. Like, you know. But that's the atheist thing. Like, and
Yeah, I agree. I agree with those things, but at the same time, I think my religion is music.
yeah.
I think when I'm in there, I don't need to explain anything. I don't need, there's no translations needed.
Have you ever heard of Ho'oponopono?
No.
It's this mantra that goes, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you.
Yeah.
And it's nice because it just kind of like, it clears up all this, like, all the negativity, like, that you accumulate. Or if you have, like, a situation with somebody wronged you or this, that, you have that mantra go, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And you sing it over and over again.
I love the bass in your voice.
Sing it with me, ready? I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I love you, I'm sorry,
I love
please
you, I'm
forgive
sorry.
me, thank you.
Please forgive me, thank you.
I love you, I'm
I love
sorry,
you, I'm sorry.
please forgive me, thank you.
Thank you.
I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you.
We haven't had that on the podcast in a while.
I know, it's a throwback. But I just wanted to sing with you. That's why I brought it up.
Well, you
I
two
was
should collaborate. I mean, if there ever was a
I know.
collaboration.
I would love to, actually.
Likewise.
I think that would be wonderful to do a song together.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's great.
I'm so happy to hear this.
Come down
Yeah.
here. We'll film a session with the two of you. And,
Well, we
you
should
know,
do that. We should do like some kind of like live stream session or something.
Sure.
I'm doing one with G.E. Smith coming up. Like we should do one. We should like do one.
I would do it for you guys, yeah.
Yeah, let's
Would
do
film
it.
I do like multi-camera, nice professional stuff.
Yeah,
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be
it'll
a
be
good
fun.
outlet.
Cool.
It's so great to meet you.
Likewise.
Yeah, this
so
was
likewise.
great.
This was
Really,
such a
I'm really happy
wonderful-
we connected. And shout out
Yeah.
to Annie O for
Yes.
Oh,
connecting
Annie
us.
O connected us.
Yeah,
Yes.
You know, she was my first ever publicist.
Oh.
I love her. I didn't know that. I didn't know
Yeah.
this was Annie O connection.
Yeah,
Shout out.
Annie's
Hi,
my
Annie.
manager.
Hi, Annie O. She's your
Yeah.
manager?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. She's a wonderful person.
Yeah.
Well, did you ever I was going to ask you if you had any other connection with Real World, and you somewhat do if you're connected with Annie O. That's how I met her, through Peter Gabriel.
Oh, not really.
She's
I
not
actually.
with them anymore.
Well,
I
I know
actually,
that, but they're still.
Yeah, they're still connected. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
I actually met Annie when I first moved to New York because she's doing the live series at the Standard,
Yeah.
yeah.
and I did a couple of them, and I did one. Well, I'm gonna say last year. It seems like in forever. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was like I
And
think the
let's
last.
plug her. She does it on Instagram now on her own account and
Yes.
features artists from all over the world.
Yes,
People
it's
should check
awesome.
it out on her
Yeah.
on her Instagram, Annie O Music. I think.
Yes, Anio Music live series, and
I want to do one with her. Maybe we should do it
oh,
with
she
her.
would love it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do one like probably in August, but yeah, you should.
All right, you got to go, right? It's 6
So yeah,
6:15.
I have a live stream somewhere
Really?
else.
It's
Yeah.
6:15?
Yeah,
Oh my
6:15,
god.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's we rock.
It seems like I just got here, like
I know.
seriously.
No, listen, we could go on for another like 2 hours, but
Well, half the time it's just me and Ehud fighting. You can't really tell. I don't know. that's the vibe of this podcast.
Wow. Well, thank you for having me. I knew I was gonna have fun.
Yeah.
I don't know, like since Annie told me about the idea, I was so looking forward to it. But wow,
Did you like it?
I loved it, and I haven't laughed like this in a long time.
hang out with us some more. You will.
Yeah.
How long have we been talking?
I don't know, like an hour and a half maybe,
Is
or
it?
give
Oh,
or take. I don't
give or
know.
take.
We
But
do you
stopped, we
guys-
started. I don't know.
But do you guys like edit?
Yeah. Well, no, we don't edit anything.
Oh,
no.
wow.
Yeah,
We can if you want.
No, no.
Uncut conversation. Yeah, and hopefully you'll promote on your face. This is gonna come out on Tuesday.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
it's
I-
goes with your release and everything.
That's
and-
great, yeah, because good quality conversations are so rare.
And sorry for the
Do you
noise.
do you do anything like in terms of like one last thing is like self-help, like you don't have a religious thing, but do you do like yoga or like any kind of breathing exercises or anything, or like what do you do to like maintain positive mental attitude?
Okay, what I do to maintain positive attitude? Well, I
Yeah.
exercise,
Yeah.
I organize and clean dishes.
Oh, I need to do more of that.
I need that for my sanity
That's
because maybe it has to do because I'm a I was good
'Cause
at
you're
math.
a meth head? No, I'm just
No,
kidding.
mathematics.
That's the
I
engineering.
love, yeah, maybe. But I need, like, everything has to be organized. I'm not a maniac, but, like, when
What's
I
your sign?
Capricorn?
Ah, I
Yeah.
don't know what that means, but
Capricorn.
Capricorn.
Well,
No, I
we
know. I
don't
know
know.
what Capricorn is. I'm saying
Yeah, I'm an
I don't know what it means astrologically.
Oh, yeah, astrologically, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, strong-headed.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I start, like, washing this and organizing, and I make a big point out of it, to be perfect. And then all of a sudden, I'm not stressed or I'm not negative anymore because I'm doing something constructive.
That's
But I should-
meditation, I guess.
It's kind of it's a fucked up meditation, but
Whatever works.
mainly, yeah, I think music is the thing that relaxes me the most. I don't listen that much, honestly,
Yeah.
but I try, like, when I'm working on something or recording, that takes me immediately, like,
Yeah.
like what was I annoyed by?
Right.
I
I know, what a gift, like, to be able to go into those realms, right? Like, so many people cannot. And yeah, I think we got to stay grateful about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, somebody was asking me, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm sure like everybody would love to have the gift of singing.
Yeah, it's a huge gift.
I would like it.
You should just try it.
I know.
You have a great voice.
I need to learn guitar.
You have a
first.
nice voice.
Nice voice.
If you just sustain that voice instead of just talking, it's sustain talking, is singing. It's no big deal.
But thank you for doing this.
Of course,
it's such a
our
great.
pleasure.
How did
man.
you think about it?
About
Podcast?
Yeah.
podcast in general?
No, this one.
This one.
Oh, with you?
Not with me, but like this series.
Oh, this series. We started a year ago, I'd say.
Yeah, well, this is
okay.
episode 94.
94 episodes. We've done a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
What are the highlights?
This one.
After-
This is a high one. This is top 10. This is definitely a good one. Really
You
good
know,
one. It's really a pleasure to meet you, I got to tell you.
So likewise.
Yeah, it really is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
What else?
What else is a good one? Mark Lanigan is
People seem to
one
like that,
one
yeah.
that stands
It's been
out.
mostly musicians that either Joe knows or I know or come through town that we managed to book.
G.E. Smith, who I'm getting ready to do
Yeah.
a live stream with. He was a great one.
Yeah, a lot of we managed to snag a lot of big icons from. G.E. Smith played with Bob Dylan.
Rosanna
for a couple of
Arquette
years.
was a good one.
Nice.
We went to her house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Here.
That was deep. That was in
No,
L.A.
in L.A.
Okay, so you guys
travel.
live here.
Yeah, we live here.
But
yeah.
you travel for the podcast?
Sometimes.
Once we did. We went to L.A. to do 5 episodes.
That's so nice.
Yeah, we went upstate every now and then. Yeah, but
Oh, would have been cool to have you guys.
Well, I want to
Next
I
time.
want to talk to you about that because I want to start going up there more, and I'm looking for like little places to rent, I guess, up there. So if you know anybody,
Yeah, you can come to our place.
okay.
We have this barn, and I put a little studio up there. There's like a first floor.
Do you
First
Airbnb
floor,
it or whatever, or like that kind of thing, or to friends?
We didn't start
asking for a
yet.
friend.
Asking for a friend.
We didn't start yet, but yeah, very happy to even like have you,
Asking
just
for a
for
friend.
for free, like
Yeah, appreciate
seriously.
that.
No, sure. It's a nice space. It's a very nice space. So yeah, let's definitely keep in touch.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take it easy, y'all.
Bye bye.
Wow, I'm gonna miss this headphone.
Hi, this is Joseph Arthur. Thanks for checking out Come to Where I'm From. Please support us on Patreon, patreon.com/come to where I'm from. We are an independent podcast, and any contributions you can make are greatly appreciated.